Welcome to Healing Body, Mind, and Soul, empowering self-care, self-healing, and self-mastery for a better world. Here's your host, Aeriol Ascher.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for dropping in. You've reached Healing Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm your host, Aeriol Ascher, and today I have the good fortune and honor to be with none other than my new friend, Heather Larkin. Through the wonders of technology, Heather is a Reiki master teacher and a practitioner all the way from Kansas City, right, Heather?
That's right.
And I have the honor and privilege to connect in with her and hear all about what got her started as a practitioner, what tips she gives people for self-healing and self-care, and what the heck got her started with all of that and what made her keep going. So I want everybody to go ahead and lean in as we give a warm welcome to Heather. Heather, thank you so much for being with us today.
And thank you so much for having me today. Really appreciate it. And I'm so excited to talk about this because it's my passion. And also because it's something that I really feel a lot of people have been talking about lately. Self-healing, self-empowerment, feeling stuck, not knowing what to do. And I completely relate. Sometimes I feel like I was in this whole transitional phase for the last 20 years, but
or longer, you know,
or longer, exactly.
And it's so exciting that everything is coming to consciousness right now. I mean, it really is a mass awakening. But some of us early responders were like, oh, wow, look, everybody's waking up. It's wonderful, right?
It's wonderful. Yeah. And so, you know, one of the things that is very interesting as I start to reflect on where I'm at today, I really started getting back into healing and making a shift in focus in my career a few years ago. But it started over 20 years ago. And I was going to college, and now I just dated myself, of course, but I was going to college and I was sick. I was very sick. I didn't know why I was feeling this way. You know, I was don't mind school. I had gone into college.
What do you mean by sick? If you don't mind interrupting, what did sick look like to you?
So sick, I wasn't sure what it was, right? So I was having a lot of issues with feeling overwhelmed, anxiety, and turning into massive panic attacks to the point where I was afraid to leave the house. I was afraid I would also then become violently ill. So it kind of created this irrational thinking, right? It escalated. It starts with a small feeling of fear, and then all of a sudden it's, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to get out of here. But I was also having issues with my stomach hurting too, and had to go see the doctor to figure out if they were ulcers, IBS, what was going on there. But it was really putting me out for hours at a time. And I was feeling
while you were in college, while you needed to be at your peak,
exactly.
Right? Under pressure. So there's a clue too, under extreme pressure. Yeah,
exactly. And
I just want to spend time there so that our listeners can really hear, like, and really relate, like, what does it look like? What did sick look like to you? And, you know, and when you're young and healthy, sick might be a little bit harder to figure out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think that was the challenge, because I went to a program that I was enjoying at the time. I went in for music therapy, and I was taking courses, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was wonderful, but I was so stressed all the time.
I know, so you couldn't even be in your element.
I couldn't. And so one day I realized I love music. I've been doing music my entire life. I got into the conservatory at this college, which was wonderful, but I knew that was going to be used in a different way. I had no idea how. In my gut, which is really important, I felt it in my gut that this is something I will come back to. I don't know what it is and what it looks like, but I will one day. So I shifted my focus into broadcasting and communications and marketing, and felt good about that, but I could not get over this sickness. And after going to see doctors and getting tests done, I started to look at alternative methods of healing. I didn't want to take a bunch of medication, you know, and I
Did you try?
really wanted to learn.
Did you have any, I mean, was there a reason that you didn't want to take medication? Did you try any and have a bad experience, or?
I was afraid that they would give me something that I would then have to take for the rest of my life.
Got it. Got it.
And I don't know where this fear came from, but it was, actually, I do know where it came from. It's because I knew what to do and how to take care of myself. I just wasn't paying attention to it. And so I feel like that the reason that I didn't want to take the medicine was also the reason why it led me into seeking alternative methods, which is what I was supposed to do in the first place. Once I did that, I came upon Reiki. And I knew nothing about it at the time, but I started researching, and the more I interacted with others who were doing this, I realized, oh, this is really what I need. I need to work on myself and look at ways to attack this anxiety, because it really comes from a place of fear and of lack, and that's not where I really need to be. I just needed the tools and the guidance to get there. So I went in and got certified back then. And within a year, my symptoms went away, and I'm off doing the career in marketing. And I told myself at that time, I said, you know, I really need to pay attention, because my body was giving me clear signs that something wasn't right. And I just needed to listen to my gut, literally listen to my gut. And
I want the readers to hang out there. That's a big clue, everybody.
So, yes.
Listen to your gut. Let's sing it, sister. Yeah, in harmony, right? Listen to your gut.
It's so true. And if you don't, you're going to one day. You'll find out what happens when you don't.
It all comes out.
I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is definitely what I told myself back then. Pay attention. Yeah. Heather, pay attention to this. And it was, it became a passion of mine.
Great.
That's where it started. However, I ended up moving from Cleveland, Ohio, that's where I grew up, and went to school, out to Kansas City. And I began my career in marketing, and it took off. And my focus became just really set on, I need to be accomplished. I need to do the best that I got to be, the best I can possibly be. You know, really having the monetary goals that I was going towards. And I got married, had 2 kids, moved, traveled all the time. And all of a sudden, you know, 5 years, 10 years go by, and I'm not feeling well again. Really not feeling well. I became incredibly stressed, which is natural, obviously, just from having kids. I love my kids, but, you know, just from having kids.
No offense to the young ones.
Yes, I love them so much. But, you know, even just that, but having a very demanding job is doing very well at, you know, required me to travel all the time. So then I was being pulled away from home life, and having that stress and pressure that I ultimately was putting on myself was literally making me sick again. But this time it got a little worse. Not only was it my stomach acting up again, but I got a tailbone injury. And
yes.
I got a tailbone injury, and funny thing is that it happened because I was with my daughter, and I ended up falling and coming down on the edge of a wooden chest in the bedroom, right on the tip of my tailbone. That turned into chronic pain. Every type of medication that they gave me, treatment, therapy, nothing worked, and it was unbearable. Not being able to even do my job became such a strain that I really had to work with the company at the time to just limit my traveling too. So not only was I feeling incredibly stressed, I was having stomach issues again, migraines all the time. Stress then obviously does not help with this other injury. And I just hit a wall. I felt very lethargic and off. And I went through that for a few years, unfortunately. And that whole time, my body, again, was giving me signs, was having conversations about ways to heal, but I didn't want to hear it. I had the opportunity to take time for myself, but I didn't, felt like I couldn't do it. And felt, again, that I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, that I had to be this way in order to be the best of my ability to provide for my family, to do this, this, and this. But it never came back to me. It was never, what do I really want to do? Until I couldn't get out of bed and said, okay, something isn't right.
Right. If the self doesn't get what the self wants, it can be a real pain in the ass. Right?
And it was. And so that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, my body says, okay, you have migraines, you're going to ignore that. Okay, let's throw on, some stomach issues. You're going to deal with that too. Fine. Here's a tailbone injury.
Yep. Just laid you out.
Laid me out. So I left the corporate world. I decided I was going to make a change. And I went into my own consulting business and said, I need to take some time for myself. And I got into acupuncture and shiatsu and realized, what am I doing? Why have I waited so long to take the time to do this for myself? Immediately I started to feel better and realized that I needed to get back into Reiki. I have no idea why I left it. I shouldn't have. It's always been there, but I really needed to get back to it. And I knew that I wanted to help others. I could do that in my marketing career, helping with the clients that I was working for, but I still wanted to do that, but I really felt, no, I'm being drawn to this, and it is time in my life where I need to now create this new path, the right path. That was the old path. I'm not saying it wasn't right. It was, but now I really need to listen to not only what my body is saying, but the people I'm meeting and all these experiences in order to find my way. And that's exactly what I ended up doing.
I love this Reiki-inspired path that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about your center? It's in Kansas City, correct?
Yes. So I have a studio in Kansas City, and I offer Reiki services, and anything from, with different modalities, right? So there's a standard Reiki. So a lot of clients that I see are either in a transitional phase, they're feeling stressed, they're looking for ways to, kind of combat their anxiety, or they might be going through an illness and they need some help. And so
chronic pain, chronic stress,
exactly.
Chronic anxiety, if they can't get, or even if they can't sleep, sleep problems, wonderful things like this. Knowing how to self-soothe by using Reiki, and to also see a skilled practitioner, but not rely on that practitioner, right? It's about the self-practice and the consistency of sensitivity and awareness to the energetic pathways, what it feels like to be full, what it feels like to be connected, right?
Absolutely. And that is my approach whenever I meet someone new. We sit down and have a conversation. What is it that you're looking for? How are you feeling? What are you being drawn to? And it isn't just, well, you're going to have a Reiki session and you're going to be great. No, there are things though that you can do and I really encourage journaling as one of the practices, because it really starts getting people used to the idea of thinking about things that maybe they weren't necessarily thinking of, to just kind of be generic about it. But
it's like having a play date with your subconscious self
yes,
every day. It's like
exactly.
having, I tell everybody, intention and reflection, intention and reflection. I mean, it's the way of the moon, it's the way of the world, intention, reflection. So I think that journaling is such an important part, and I applaud you for sharing that with your peeps, because it's a great way for you to check in as a practitioner to see where people are at, and for them to check in as their own practitioner with where they're at.
Exactly. And, you know, one thing that I hear often is that, well, I have a journal, but I don't know what to write. And so I have a tip card, and some of the favorite journaling tips that I have, I offer to them, and we can go through an exercise together. But really, it's a good starting place for them. And the one thing about journaling that I'm sure you agree with is it doesn't matter what you say, just start writing. And that's where that subconscious comes in, right? Just start writing, and it's going to flow. That's the first step. But I know it's hard to get there sometimes. So that's, again, part of just the conversation that we have in the beginning. And then when you take a look at it, you'll be surprised at what you actually wrote.
And how do you tie your music into your assistance with people? Tell me a little bit, because I know you have a musical background like myself and like a lot of my guests. In fact, if you have anything that you'd like me to put into our podcast here today, just send me an MP3 and I can make all of that magic happen, so that our listeners can really get the energy that you're providing there, and really get a feel for what's going on with you in your practice over there, Heather. I hope you'll take me up on that invitation.
I am, thank you, yes. So I'm not trying not to be a music nerd here, but I like to use frequencies. Everything has a vibration. Everything is energy, everything has a vibration. And so within music, there are frequencies that are going to speak to people in a certain way. They're going to feel it in a soothing way. They're going to feel it in an emotional way. There's also frequencies in music that make you feel stressed and anxious, right? So the idea of the music that I incorporate is really based on what that person might be going through and what's going to resonate with them. And there's all different types of frequencies out there, but I really focus on that because that vibration really does help to move energy along as we're working through the session on the body.
I have a question for you. You know, we just had sound healer Sue Wilhite on, and she does biotuning. Are you using any musical accoutrements in your energy work or massage, the way that I use bowls and tuning forks? Do you use any sound healing apparatus in your
I do have singing bowls. I do like, so my answer to that is I have some, but I plan to do more. Honestly,
awesome.
I do want to bring more in because it is so effective.
You gotta listen in. We had a wonderful conversation with Cheryl Engelhardt and her beautiful music. I'm sure you'll resonate with that. And Sue Wilhite is doing this wonderful biotuning, which diagnostically as a healer gives us exactly the time in the person's timeline when these things got set into place. And we get it out of their biofield. What? We love that. I know. So make sure to check out Sue's episode as well. And for our listeners who are interested in that sort of thing, please do that as well. Heather, what tip would you give any of our listeners who resonate with any of the anxiety with any of these things of being sick and not knowing what to do, or maybe they just want to up their self-consciousness game because they're waking up and they need to really practice being in that awakened state, because like Heather shared, sometimes you're on and then you forget. And sometimes you forget for like 5 years if you've been doing it as long as Heather and myself, or longer, right, Heather? I
Right.
mean, it can go on. So what tip would you give our listeners, because our audience is huge, that they can do today to help themselves?
So I have a couple. I would say, we talked a little bit about journaling. Obviously, that's one.
Yeah.
Meditation is great. Meditation doesn't necessarily have to be sit down, close your eyes, and focus on one thing. There's meditation where you're doing a daily task. Maybe you're doing the dishes, but you're not thinking about everything else. You're just doing the dishes. That's meditation right there. So finding a way to clear the mind is definitely one thing that is helpful. Find the few minutes out of the day, 20 minutes out of the day, to either just sit down, relax, or do something that you can enjoy without having to think about it. Let your mind be free. And you'll find that after those few minutes go by, you're actually a lot more relaxed, and it's because you're not thinking about everything. And you don't have to be stressed out when you meditate. That's not the point of meditation, right? So don't make it hard. Start simple and start small. The other thing I would suggest that helps to just generate sort of a positive shift in the mindset, because the mindset is huge. So sometimes when you're feeling anxious and nervous, you're going about your day, and let's say you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off, and you're like, why did that person do this? And you start freaking out. And instead of getting upset and saying, why is this happening to me? I'm going to be late. I don't need this right now. Flip it around and say, why is this happening for me? What is the lesson in this that I need to learn from it? Oh, maybe it's the fact that I do need to work on patience a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have been taking too much time doing this. And I'm really upset that I'm just running late and this person happened to cut me off right in the middle of it. So shifting that mind focus of how do I learn from this and how do I stay positive? And begin the day that way too. Those affirmations, just today I want abundance. Today I want to be happy. Today I'm going to spend 20 minutes talking to my best friend. Today I'm going to do something nice for a stranger. All of those things are ways to just start.
Intention and reflection.
Exactly.
Heather, it is wonderful to connect in with you. I love these pearls of wisdom. I'm sure all of our listeners can benefit from these tips. And how can our listeners get hold of you, Heather, if they're in your area or if they want to reach out to you from wherever they are? What's the best way to contact you?
The website is great because that has everything there all in one place, and that's kcholistichealing.com. And yeah, that honestly the best way to reach me. My phone number's there, email, all that information, and I would love to connect with anyone out there. I'm passionate about what I do, and I want to help others to live their true passion as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure that everybody is excited about this conversation. And if any of our listeners suffer from anxiety or anything that can benefit from Reiki self-healing, you're going to want to reach out to Heather or myself or some other Reiki practitioner in your area and get yourself the tools that you can connect with your own source energy and your higher self. Okay, that's it for me today. Oh, one last plug. I am still looking for co-authors for our upcoming book, Empowered Self-Care, Healing Body, Mind, and Soul for a Better World. If you would like to be a participating author, please contact me, Aeriol, at somasoundtherapy.com /book project. Thanks a lot. And until next time, everybody, happy healing.
Thanks for joining us for the Healing Body, Mind, and Soul podcast with your host, Aeriol Ascher. Today's program has been brought to you by Soma Sound Therapy and the Healing Body, Mind, and Soul Network.